Welcome back to the Fulfilled Female Entrepreneur Podcast. It's your host, Cassandra Rosa. I am a certified coach and healer and intuitive business coach. And the mission behind this podcast is to help you to create a fulfilling life and business. Today, I'm really excited to have Camille Ganir on the podcast, and she's going to be talking about removing energetic blocks. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I would like to start this out today by thanking you so much, Camille, for coming on the podcast. I'm so excited to talk about removing energetic blocks with you today.
Thank you so much, Cassandra, for having me. I'm excited as well.
Yeah, so we connected over social media, and she's actually hosting a summit that she's going to be speaking about towards the end of the episode here today. And I'm one of her featured speakers. So it was such a beautiful conversation that we had. And I'm really excited to kind of like turn the tables now and get to know about you and your story and this powerful topic today. So I would like to introduce you to Camille Ganir, and she is a trans channeler, specifically channeling the energy healings of Archangel Michael and his fellow archangels and other light beings who called to be there. Most recently, galactic beings have been present, like the Hathors, Palladians, Arcturians, and Lemurians. These beings help remove energetic blocks that you may not understand and are still lingering, blocks that are deep, that could be ancestral or from a different lifetime altogether. And like I said, she's going to be talking about her summit that she's having, and we're going to leave all the links and ways for her to connect with you in the show notes. And I love that you channel those beings. It's really interesting how even in your bio, you talked about how a lot of them are stepping forward, because I know even for myself personally and in my sessions with my clients, I've been feeling the presence louder and stronger more than ever, and having curiosities, like especially with like Lemuria and the Palladians. So I love the alignment of and timing of this conversation.
Thank you. It's been interesting. I really enjoy it. I didn't think I would actually be able to do all of this. I mean, in my journey, I was like, oh, I'll be an energetic practitioner helping people overcome some health issues. And as I progressed, it just progressed. It really just progressed. I came into contact with a different kind of practitioner. He interprets dreams, Michael Sheridan. He's been on my summits before, and he's been pretty instrumental in some of the things that I'm doing because he helps you interpret dreams and what it is that you actually need to overcome so that your spiritual gifts can basically explode. If for any of you who are curious about what it is, I mean, that you are wanting to do, or that your soul is wanting you to do, that really, really helped me understand what it is that I am here to do. Not was supposed to, but I am. I say supposed to because, in the beginning of your life, you have your parents, your different influences, your teachers that say, oh, you should do this, you should do this. I mean, how many of you have done that, right? Sandra, I mean, what was your influence of what you were doing before you became an entrepreneur, right? I mean,
Totally. For me, it was insurance. It was take over the family insurance business. That was, the wish for my family.
Right.
I feel like everyone kind of has that, right?
Yeah. And so what kind of schooling did they even push you to do?
Mm-hmm.
And did you even want to do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big story that a lot of people go through, and I think even spiritual people, a lot of these people like that are listening right now that are in these transitional phases where it's like even society's projections, and how that can almost, I love how it's kind of connected in the topic that we're talking about today of these energetic blocks, because it's like when we're not in alignment with certain life paths and choices, it can cause those things to come up and really take us away from what we're supposed to be doing. I know everything has lessons in its own regard, but I think there can be a lot of cues and intuitive hits that remind us, okay, this is the direction you're supposed to be. I'm doing air quotes for everyone listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
But the more that you ignore it, the more blocks that can come up. That's for sure. Yeah. So like,
Yes.
when was that moment? I'd like to learn a little bit more about your story, because it's so tied into this topic today of like when you started to have this newfound like connection with Archangel Michael and all these beings that you're channeling and tapping into. What was that experience like?
It was pretty amazing. And I mean, I met a group of healers that really over the pandemic they helped me and other healers really tap into what we're supposed to be doing. And I'm so thankful and grateful for this group of healers, because it was them, they're like, you can do more.
Mhm.
What it is that you're doing is still on the surface, and you still have some clearing to do, but we can all help you. And that's what I truly love about this community, the healer community. It's
Mhm.
I don't feel competition,
Mhm.
right? I mean, I have to put that out there because there's so many of us out there, but I don't feel in competition with any one person, because we're all here to help, because we all have our different flavor of how we all do the same thing.
Totally. To-
Um there's so many people that are channelers, there's so many people that are um, that use tarot or palm reading and Wicca, which I just learned about on
Mhm.
my on my series. But not one person on my series that I just finished interviewing for, not one was like, "Oh, did I really get the feeling of competition?" It was like, how
Mhm.
do we help each other grow,
Yeah.
right? I
Totally.
mean,
Collaboration, right? That's what my favorite part is with this podcast, is just tapping into all of the divine wisdom that all the guests have, and collaboration is totally key. And I'm so excited to listen to the summit for all the other speakers. I'm so thrilled. But for the podcast today, it's called Fulfilled Female Entrepreneur. So I ask all my guests, what does fulfillment mean to you? And what's the most fulfilling part of all that you're doing in your business?
that is such an awesome question to ask, because I think I when I feel fulfilled, initially I thought it was like, oh, I finally found my purpose. But every client that I see, or every group healing that I do, and even when I'm doing the summit, like every part of it is fulfilling for me.
I love
Helping the clients understand their blocks, removing their blocks, and like, oh my God, I didn't think it was that.
Mhm.
Or even just the initial, I just feel lighter, I understand better what is that the patterns were, um and the next time we see each other, and so they finally are able to make that connection. So on the client level, that is always fulfilling, because really, like, truly helping someone get out of their funk.
Totally. I love that. Those light bulb moments, and I love how you spoke about every step of the process is fulfilling, which I think is beautiful, because I talk about, like with my clients, destination syndrome of when you achieve XYZ, then you'll be fulfilled, happy, blissed, at peace. So I love how you're speaking into every step of the way to tap into that. So, so, so powerful.
Well, every person is different, right? Like,
Mm.
and every moment is different, because I may be helping them, but I'm also learning from them,
Mhm.
right? So it's still, for me, I'm a sponge when it comes for learning, and I try to see the lesson in every event that I'm I'm experiencing, whether it's good or bad or even neutral. Like, what is it that I'm learning? And it might not hit me right then and there. Just don't get me wrong. I'm like, oh, aha moment. It comes after the fact. Um, so it's really interesting how every person that I meet, even if it is kind of a
Mhm.
not so great moment, or a great experience, what is it that I can learn from
Such a powerful perspective. No, and I think that everyone just take a moment and let that sink in about those difficult moments in life or those steps outside of your comfort zone, or it feels like everything's going wrong. What are you being taught? What is the divine trying to teach you with all of those unique experiences? I feel like once you have that perspective, it shifts you from being in this, like, air quotes again, podcast listeners, like victim mindset into an empowered one of seeing that this is always happening for you, not against you.
it? Yes, absolutely. And I think that's one of the hardest things to really grasp,
Hmm.
right? When those difficult moments, it's like, but why? But why? I mean, I did everything right.
Yeah.
And you did. Absolutely, you did. You absolutely did. But where did it in your mind go wrong?
Hmm.
So how, I mean, we're here to do something better every time, right?
Totally.
I don't know if there's ever a moment where, oh yeah, perfect. Yes, it is perfect at that moment. And then again, like, how can you make it better?
Hmm.
Um, Especially I feel like anytime I do a client session and I learn from that client, it just incorporates automatically in another client. So that's how I know I'm learning, because all of a sudden it's now incorporated into a different client altogether.
Totally. 100%. And this is all connected with energetic blocks in such a beautiful way for people that are maybe not aware or as attuned in their energy. Maybe they're in the beginning of their spiritual journey. How can someone tell if there is an energetic block happening?
Hmm. The one thing that I can probably relate it the most, that maybe most people will understand, would be a health issue.
Hmm.
Uh, because if you're doing everything either spiritual or even medicine wise, right? And it's still there, what is it that's holding you back from releasing,
Hmm.
right? Because there's something in there. There's something that you're holding on to that it may not be you're actually holding on to, but it's it could even be a lesson that you're meant to learn this lifetime, or it
Totally.
could be your ancestors that are really latching onto you and asking you to help them release from the past, your entire line, and or because it all could be connected. It's an interesting web. It could also be a past life
Hmm.
that has nothing to do with your ancestors.
Hmm. Totally. 100%. It's so vast. There's so many contributing factors. And I know when I was starting to get in tune with my energy and I started to realize how things can happen at the energy first. Like when you walk into a room and it feels like you feel tight, you're like, I don't want to be here, right? And it
Yes,
goes into
yes,
the mind of the actual thought, this doesn't feel good. I don't want to be here. And then it can go into the body. And when I start to realize what the mind body connection is, your body is like the last piece of the puzzle that's running the sirens, being like, hey, we need to shift something here, you know?
yes,
Um,
yes.
so
And the reason why I bring up the nutrition part for people to really, or not, health wise,
mhm,
because for my personal journey, that's what's my personal journey. Um, Diabetes is in my family, but as I have gone through healers, different healers have seen, well, it's not something that's rooted in this lifetime for me.
Mm,
It's actually rooted from many ancestors. And
mhm,
so it's not, it can happen. And I know it will. And even one healer said, well, are you sure that your lesson is maybe just to accept it?
mhm, mm,
Right. And so what's, and that was an interesting question for me. I was like, accept it? She's like, well, because you keep chasing and chasing and chasing, and all the things that you've been doing is restricting, restricting, restricting
mm,
because of what we've been taught in our lifetime, what you can and can't have, and body, body, blah about diabetes. She's like, what if you just let go of that idea and just live your life? I was like,
mhm.
huh, that's pretty damn beautiful too.
Yes. Wow. Wow. And something just dropped down, which is so interesting of how the beginning of this conversation to how this is going about how energetic blocks lead you to lessons
Mm-hmm,
for your soul's growth.
mm-hmm. And
So
that's
I got
why,
chills when I had that like tap down, like drop down. I'm like, oh, that is like so good. How like this conversation is intertwined into this beautiful way and that realization. Cause I think like when we're having health things that come up or like mentally we're not achieving what we're
mm-hmm,
meant, like we're wanting to and longing for, we can label that, we can judge that, we can judge our bodies, we can judge ourselves for being in specific situations, we can feel victimized. But I think it's so powerful. And what I'm understanding, even this conversation from you and tapping into all that you're tapping into, is the power of seeing that as a like an exclamation point in a way to like lead
mm-hmm.
to a specific lesson.
Yeah, yeah. And so when this healer, when she asked that question, it really just stopped me in my tracks because she was right. Like, what if this lesson, what if in this lifetime, that's just something I have to live with? And so, can I let go of the chase?
Hmm. Wow. Wow. And then for people that are listening, like you went to a healer and you had this realization, what is a way that people can decipher whether it's like a past life lesson, an ancestral
Mm,
thing that's dropping by, just like maybe something situational that has arisen like physically in like the 3D, like in life as life's passed you by, that has caused the energetic block? Like how would one identify the origin of
that's
where
a
it came
great
from?
question. One of the first questions I actually asked when there's an ailment,
Mhm.
hopefully that you can, it's soon and it's early enough that you can actually remember. Um, Perfect example is a friend of mine was having issues with her knees. And I said, so what were you doing when you realized that your knees really started to bother you? And she said, oh, well, I was trying to close on a house and I was having a lot of stress in my job. And I said, so you were not feeling stable in your life,
Hmm.
right? So I think it was Louise Hay that really kind of brought forward the different parts of your body that start to give you clues as to when it hurts, what are you not feeling? And it's more like a, is it a pun? An analogy? A comparison. So
Mhm.
something in your legs. And I don't know this book, so you have
Mhm.
to actually read it yourself.
Mhm.
um, but she wasn't, so I was like, so are you feeling like your legs are just cut from right under you, right? Because you don't have, it's your knees. It's like, are you not feeling flexible?
Mhm.
Are you not able to stand? Are you not able to feel like you're standing where you should be and then you're just cut from the knees? She's like, oh, yeah, that
Hmm.
does sound right. Or even if someone is having, and this is some, a lot of graphics go around social media about your back, and when you have back pain. So what is it that you, again, not feeling supported because your back actually supports your entire body. So
Totally.
what part of your life is not feeling supported?
Mhm. Mhm.
When it hurts, right? When the part of your body hurts, what were you doing? So you
Mhm.
need to relate like what experience was happening with you when your body started giving you clues that this is not right.
Totally. Totally. I've understood too, it can be connected to the chakras too, right? Like the chakra that's nearby.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if you've had a different experience or background about it, but like it's connected to the chakra systems in a way of, if your heart's hurting, it could be love, it could be grief, it could be, right? Um,
The
so
heart, oh my gosh. I mean, how many times have any one of us had a heartbreak? And
mhm,
that's personal, right? Family related. It could be even like job related, like you had your heart set on a particular position, a job, getting promoted, or even just a particular company that you wanted to work,
mhm,
right? And then you don't get it, or it's not there, or you have, or the most, the thing that most people understand is you break up with your significant other.
right.
Your heart is just broken.
Mhm. Totally. I think everyone listening has had one of those, if not multiple times, experiences in their life. So, for people to identify whether they're experiencing energetic blocks or not, you're saying the body is a telltale sign. If you're
Mhm.
having pain, if you're feeling ailments, are there any other signs that people can acknowledge that, hey, this is like an energetic block that I need to shift?
I usually I usually look for those actual signs. When someone or when you hear people either that you know or you don't know, and you hear that same thing that comes
Hmm.
across you, and you're like, how? Why am I hearing this again?
Hmm.
Right? Take notice, and that could be good or for bad.
Yeah. Totally.
So the energetic blocks, they it will really you really have to listen. You have to listen. What is it? Why are you going through that same pattern?
Yeah.
And do you understand that it's a
Totally. That's powerful. Like being aware of it and like acting on it and taking the steps to move through it, because it can sometimes be like right here and you can't miss it, but taking the actions to shift it is a whole other thing. And if
pattern?
someone thinks, yeah, go ahead.
And I was just going to add, so when it's an energetic block, again, when you've done everything that you think you've done, whether it's clearing your chakras or doing the spiritual things, could actually be an energetic block. So you need to go deeper. So
Mm,
this is where you really have to start digging deeper. And some people, they don't want to because it hurts.
totally. It's uncomfortable.
They don't want to feel the pain. That's why they blocked it. They closed the heart off. They
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when I'm doing a healing, and some of the images that come through is that there's an armor on themselves, and
Mm-hmm.
then especially around the heart, especially if someone was heartbroken for whatever reason that we've already named. And the angels and all the other light beings that are there, they're asking, they always ask permission, but they're saying they show that there's an armor around the person. And so after the session, we talk and we discuss, and they're like, yes, I do know that I had to protect myself. You know, and I said the angels are saying you no longer have to protect yourself. You need to allow things in now.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, sometimes it's like that inability to let go and to hold it near,
Mm-hmm.
you know, can, yeah, it's like it can be easier in the moment is how you feel, but then you're holding this weight, you're holding this inside of you. because you're not willing to do the deep work and move through the emotional stuff and the experiences in the past and go, with the fears of what can come up from doing that. But if someone's experiencing energetic blocks and they're acknowledging, they're like, yeah, I'm having pain in my back, or yeah, I did have a heartbreak and my heart feels broken. What are some tangible ways that people can work towards going deep and removing the blocks?
That's a great question. Really, you need to sit if you don't feel comfortable actually talking to people. I think for me, one of the first things that I did, especially like one of the biggest heartbreaks I had was my parents passing away. That was a huge heartbreak, and I had no idea how to really address that. And that's a huge heartbreak. And just allowing yourself to feel the emotion.
Mm, yep.
You have to, whether you're ready for it or not. And then the more you hold it back, it's going to come up in a different way. And so after both my parents died, about 10 years apart, then my older brother passed away a few years later. And I was like, I got this. I got this. Sadly, I'm a pro at grief. So my brother dying, I was absolutely heartbroken again.
Yeah.
But I thought I understood how to deal with it because I thought my mom and dad passing away separately was like heartbreaking. And I'm like, oh my God, again. And I didn't want to feel it. I
Hmm.
I did and I didn't. It was this really weird dance that I was doing because I thought I was crying enough and feeling the hurt enough, but then I also was had just started my energetic journey, and I was like, I understood that I could actually talk to him. He just lost his physical body. He's still there. But ooh, I held that in and I got hives all over my body
Oh,
because I
wow.
didn't actually allow myself to truly grieve and experience the pain of someone passing, right? And so that that really is my one big tip is like as much as you don't want to feel it, you have to feel it.
Yes.
You
Yes. Yeah,
have to
I've
feel
heard
it.
emotions are energy in motion, right? So if you're not moving through the emotions, you're keeping the energy stored and causing the blocks. That's a really powerful message. And it's easier said than done, but it's giving yourself that permission to feel is like so important. So, so important. Like if you're going to take one thing away from this, I would say like exclamation mark beside that highlight pin that moment. Or so do you want to talk about the summit? What inspired you to create
Yes.
it? What people can expect when it's going on?
Oh gosh, it was so much fun. First
Mm,
of all, because I got to meet so many great people like you. And what sparked it was really people asking the question like, well, how do I discover my intuition? And then what do I do with it? And and that was a question for me as well. Like I had no idea I was using my intuition.
totally.
Um and being able to find all these wonderful healers and how they're able to help people because they were able to discover their intuition and then they were able to discover their superpowers. I mean, it was so damn awesome. Um, so how do you not how do you not create a series to be able
Totally.
to highlight all these things?
Hmm.
So let's see. So you can find it by Cassandra because she's on it and she will be sending some media out for it. And it's going to start on June 6th. And what I love about it is that I'm featuring different speakers each day. But if you're much like a binge watcher because of streaming videos, streaming channels, you can actually binge watch the entire series for the whole 10 days. or just watch one interview the entire time. But I am I would really like you to watch every single healer there is, every single guest there is, because every person has such a great story. They have a lot of them have some free gifts that they're giving away. So if not, get the gifts.
Yes, we're going to leave a link so you can check it out. I highly recommend you do. It was so much fun in recording it and experiencing it together, and definitely enjoy the summit. And where else can they connect with you to learn more about all that you do and the services you offer?
Right now my website is in the works. I think I gave it to you, but I want to switch it because it's not exactly what I want. So you can find me on social media, mainly on Facebook and Instagram. So just find me Camille Ganir. And yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna leave all the links in the show notes or the description of this video. Thank you so much, Camille, for coming on and sharing your stories and your wisdom and your tips and your experiences. It's just been such a pleasure connecting with you, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I'll upload a new video on Thursday. See you in the next one. Bye.